we really focus on what moves the needle, and it's our people. So in order to do that, we have to create an employee experience and be just as laser focused on doing that.
Welcome to another episode of Friday Five with Dave Adams. Today, it's going to be a real treat for me to have two Jennifers on the program. Jen Dickey, who is the Vice President of Talent and Culture with Cornerstone Community Financial, and Jen Blue, who is the Vice President of Marketing. Both Jennifers have extensive experience in financial services and credit unions specifically. Jen Dickey has 20 years of experience and Jen Blue 14. And in fact, I'm very proud of the fact that Ms. Dickey spent 5 years with the Michigan Credit Union League and CU Solutions Group, helping us with our organizational culture and HR management needs. So I know we're going to have a great conversation about company culture, credit union culture, how to build it, how to enhance it, and how to attract and retain the best talent. I know you're going to enjoy this discussion with Jen Dickey and Jen Blue from Cornerstone Community Financial Credit Union. Well, Jen Blue, Jen Dickey, welcome to Friday Five. It's great to have you on.
Oh, thanks for having us.
So, Jen Dickey, first of all, as Vice President of Talent and Culture at Cornerstone Community Financial, I look at your bio and I am very pleasantly aware of the fact that you worked for a number of years for CU Solutions Group and the Michigan Credit Union League in HR, including being our Chief Culture Officer for a number of years. And I guess I'll start with both. I want to start with both of you asking a question about the credit union industry and being involved in your roles working for credit unions. And start with you, Jen Dickey. As you look at your credit union career, what are some of the things that you most value being in the credit union industry?
I think it's being able to serve the membership. I've worked in the credit union industry for so many years, and I've had an opportunity to work in other industries. And I can't say enough what a difference the dedication to service is. It's what drives me, and I think it helps to incorporate that into culture, and it helps team members to have that, that sense of purpose of, the why am I here? So if
Well
anything, it
said.
would be the service.
Well said. And Jen Blue, likewise, I know you have 14 years in financial services, mostly credit unions. You did some work at Genesis Credit Union before joining Cornerstone. So maybe answer that same question about your passion for credit union work.
Yeah, I would agree. I think to take a different perspective, we do a lot of work in the community. And so when you can see members coming together with you in the community and coming to you and telling you their story and that how you've helped them, and you get to see them out and about. And so being able to give back in not only a personal financial aspect, but also in the communities where they live and work, I think it just means so much more to them and to our relationship when we can kind of marry the two. So that's been really incredible to see over the last several years and last year especially.
Oh, for sure. And so this quarter, we're kind of wrapping up in March the focus on organizational culture and the importance of human resource management. And I will say here at the beginning, I know your CEO, Heidi Kassab, well. I've had the pleasure of meeting with your board of directors a time or two. I know your leadership team members, and I know how excellent Cornerstone is at connecting the dots with regard to attracting and retaining great talent and how that translates into great member service. So let's start with that first question about company culture. I'll start with you, Jen Dickey. What are the important considerations that go into fostering a great credit union organizational culture?
I think it's about creating something that's sustainable. So something that everyone can really get behind, something that they believe in, and it does provide that sense of purpose for them. I think that's so important. And you have to remember that going back to what I said about service, credit unions are so dedicated to member service and coming up with innovative ways of how they can better that member relationship. But more importantly, we really focus on what moves the needle, and it's our people. So in order to do that, we have to create an employee experience and be just as laser focused on doing that and putting initiatives together that helps to drive that and helps to create the culture. It's got to start there.
Well said. And Jen Blue, as VP of Marketing, I love having both of you on because Ms. Dickey is focused on talent and culture, and your focus is marketing, and the two are intertwined when we talk about culture. So maybe come at the important elements of a great credit union culture vis-a-vis how it translates into marketing and providing great member service.
Yeah. So of course, when you think of marketing and you think of some of the major brands that you think of, you know of them because of something they do, whether it's advertising, whether it's great service or a great product. So you're building that brand. But in reality, your brand is really only as good as your people. So while you're out there trying to portray a really great brand image, if a consumer or a member comes to your door and they don't get that same experience, it kind of all falls apart. So that's where, marketing and human resources, we work together so closely to make sure that what we are advertising and saying on the outside is exactly what they're going to get when they walk through our front doors.
Delivering on your brand promises. I love that. And, I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into, culture and fostering culture, good culture. Those are kind of business buzzwords, but when you really get into the deliverables, what are some of the things that you're doing at Cornerstone, Jen Dickey, to walk the talk in terms of really giving employees a great place to work?
So it has to be fluent, and I'll go back to sustainable. So you can't just say, we are all about X, Y, and Z, and nothing's happening, like you said. So it has to be fluent conversations, communications. We re-looked at how we do check-ins with our team members, rather than just, okay, it's going to be very structured and very once a month, and then you have your review. We made it more fluent and easy where team members can better drive, the conversations. We provided better technology so that it can support those conversations, because we don't want it to also feel like a task for managers to do, because that's every time you're like, okay, make sure you're doing check-ins, make sure you're doing coach-ins. They're not saying, yes, I can't wait to go ahead and document that. That's not happening. So we provided supporting tools to help them. And we're ensuring that team members are getting what they actually need and they actually want. So it's not just about this is what has to happen. It's something that they want, and it's really creating that sense of purpose and going back to why am I here?
I think that's so important, whether it's the annual performance evaluation or these monthly coaching meetings. If employees feel uncomfortable or threatened or hoping to avoid those, or I'm perfectly fine letting this be a really brief meeting, let's get it over quickly, it defeats the purpose of it being a true coaching support kind of process. So Jen Blue, what are your thoughts on either that or other facets of kind of the important factors that go into creating that great culture?
Yeah, I think, a lot of it is staying very connected, and we saw, especially this year, it was critical, and we had to find different ways to do that. And so whether it was a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting or just picking up the phone, it's just making sure you have that constant connection, because it is different. When you don't see somebody face to face every day, you don't always know what's going on, in their personal lives. In the background, you can't sense, maybe something might be wrong, or it's just different. So I think as Jen said, using some of those tools digitally and checking in more regularly and making it more of an expectation and not necessarily an obligation, but something that just says, hey, we're checking in. We just want to see how things are going. And the more often you do that, then it's easier to start picking up on some of those subtleties that you might be missing otherwise.
And it's almost impossible to teach a supervisor to be compassionate and caring, right? They either are or they're not. And so it's so important to hire good people who have those qualities. Let's talk about human resource management more broadly. So obviously, one critically important facet of HR is the culture and fostering the culture. But all those other factors, job descriptions, hiring, onboarding, orientation, managing benefits and compensation, all of the different things that go into HR management. Jen Dickey, maybe talk from the standpoint of the ones that you think are most important right now, the ones that you think maybe are a bit more challenging right now.
So when I think of human resource management, this is something I talk about with my team all the time. And, we created our strategic plan for the year and looked at, what are we always go into it going, what are the external challenges and internal challenges that we're going to have to overcome? And then the initiatives that we'll have to put into place to not only overcome those external challenges, but what's going on internally. So I always preach, you have to know your business and you have to know your people. So in order to do that, you can't be a good strategic partner. So one of the biggest challenges I think that we came across, not just as just in the silo of HR, but in the business of the credit union business, Cornerstone, was recruiting. We were creating new positions, and during the time when the pandemic was really keeping people at home, it was almost impossible, like almost literally impossible to get the talent that we need, to get the talent that aligned to our culture, and to get the skills and abilities that would help drive positions to be successful.
Jen Blue, when you think of marketing and your important role there, and some of these challenges, maybe during COVID in particular, how has it changed the way the credit union approaches marketing?
Yeah, we had to be sensitive to how our members and consumers were feeling, and we, for a long time, we didn't know. We knew that their members would be affected financially and in various ways. So I think we had to be more empathetic. Not that you're not anyway, but I think you had to be even more mindful of what was going on, to make sure that we were addressing member concerns and to really reassure them that we are safe, we are secure, and we are here for you, even if it can't be in person. And I think just being able to pivot quickly and be able to still provide that support without essentially missing a beat is really what builds even more trust for our members. So I think, it was just working through all of that as quickly as we could.
So let's expand a little bit on this, both of you. I like to ask the question about silver linings during a crisis, or learnings from the pandemic that will carry on and that will benefit our organizations in the future. And one of them is what you just mentioned, Jen Blue, and that is learning that sales really needs to be compassionate, needs to be needs-based during a crisis. But doesn't that kind of translate into any environment? It's so much more attractive to members if we're focusing on needs and being very sensitive to their needs, as opposed to stepping over the line and hard selling too much. But maybe talk about that and what other silver linings you think maybe come out of the COVID pandemic for the future, Jen Blue.
Yeah, I think, it's, if anything, we've learned a lot. And I think we all knew that we were moving to a digital environment. This probably just forced it upon us, but I don't think, that's a good thing though. We were moving in that direction and we had to find a way, and we did. So I think it just shows us that we are able to adapt in any situation and still be successful. So I think for us, that was a big thing to realize throughout all of this.
Jen Dickey, what are your thoughts on that question?
I like the spin on the Nike tagline. It was, we had to continue to just do it, but we needed to do it differently.
Yeah.
So I agree with Jen 100%. You know, when you take a step back and you look at all the things that you're doing and try to identify ways to be more effective, you know, I always go to technology or partnering with somebody to help us, you know, be more strategic or effective. But it did just force that along in a more timely fashion. So when you say silver lining, I couldn't agree more. Yep, it was terrible. From an HR perspective, we had to learn everything so quickly about COVID, you know, something that we've never been exposed to, and rules and laws changed. But at the same time, I couldn't be happier with how we adapted and how quickly we were able to, you know, shift directions and be successful.
And this is a good segue to talking about work from home. I realize that most credit unions are going to have a hybrid approach to working from home versus working in office. They have to, they're consumer facing. If you're going to have branches, you need to have people on the front lines and so on. But Jen Dickey, maybe start the conversation here about how your credit union is approaching work from home for the long haul. And that certainly is one of the silver linings, right? The uh, the win-win of lower facilities costs and the win for staff of being able to shorten or eliminate commutes and so on. But maybe talk about work from home and how Cornerstone is approaching it, Jen.
Absolutely. So definitely something that we were talking about prior to. We also had team members that were already utilizing that as a really great opportunity to have um, better wellness, better work-life balance. So we're definitely talking about how we can continue to offer that so that we can support team members in being flexible and maintaining both their personal and their professional lives. You know, they're with us probably more than they are with their families, and whatever we can do to support that, we're going to do. But we also want to make sure that it's a good balance and it's a good fit for that particular position.
Jen Blue, what would you like to add to that on work from home and what we can learn, what we can benefit from moving forward?
Yeah, I would agree with Jen. I think, it depends on the position. We need to make sure that it's the right fit for that position. Some positions will be more member facing, some are more back office. So I think it's just finding a good balance between allowing, team members to work from home and their time in the office. But I think, as Jen said, it's definitely something we want to work toward in a way that best suits both the organization and our team members.
And it strikes me, Jen Dickey, you were talking about uh, hiring, recruiting being one of the challenges. If a credit union has as many positions as possible that are kind of work from anywhere, does that expand the talent pool significantly and make that a bit easier in some respects?
Absolutely. I would say for support positions, absolutely. I feel like when you talk to candidates now for those type of positions, it's an expectation from a candidate perspective, right? So being able to offer that, it increases the talent that we can acquire, and it allows us to recruit and get the best of the best, you know, and those individuals that are looking, and allows them to come to a great place to work. So
And in the so-called war for talent, battle for talent, uh, it may not always be an expectation, but it certainly is an option that talent base has when they're interviewing. They have other positions at other organizations that are going to provide that flexibility. So let's talk about a topic that we're all kind of wrestling with right now. We're in the midst of the hope of spring and long winters coming to an end, and along with that, vaccines being distributed. And we're all anxious to get all of our team members vaccinated. And I'm curious to know how you characterize Cornerstone credit unions' position with regard to how much you're encouraging, whether you expect to incentivize or reward, and how you're going to deal with employees who just choose not to be vaccinated. Maybe start with you, Jen Dickey, and then have Jen Blue fill in the blanks.
For sure. With COVID vaccine, what we're doing and the approach that we're taking is giving team members information. Just give them as much information as possible. So whatever I can find in terms of what's happening with the vaccine, its availability, who's eligible, that's what we're pushing out to team members in the form of encouragement, as opposed to, we're making it mandatory. We're absolutely not making it mandatory, but we're definitely encouraging it.
Great, good to hear. Jen Blue, any thoughts on that vaccine question?
Yeah, I would agree with Jen. It is a touchy subject right now. And of course, I don't know that we can make anybody do it, but I think, for us, it's always been provide the information as best as we can, and, let the teams make a decision that they feel is ultimately the best for them, but hopefully, puts everybody in a better position.
And every day it seems like there's new information. I heard today on the radio this morning that Detroit Mayor Duggan is saying that he doesn't want Detroiters to have the Johnson & Johnson vaccine because he feels like the other two, Moderna and Pfizer, are better. And so that's an interesting piece of information, right? That causes people to consider their options.
Yeah.
And the other thing is this news that came in preliminarily from the Catholic Church, taking exception to stem cells being used in the development of vaccines. And I heard on the radio, I hope I'm getting this right, that the US Conference of Catholic Bishops clarified, and I think the Pope has also clarified, that the greater good, the societal greater good of avoiding sickness and death kind of overshadows some of the moral dilemmas associated with that question of how embryos are used in science to develop vaccines. So I think that's an example, because religion becomes a basis for one of the reasons why people may not want to be vaccinated, and they have that right. And yet the information is very, very dynamic. And I think it's important for, as you said, Jen Dickey, to make sure that everybody has access to the information and that we encourage them to make a thoughtful, well-informed decision. And hopefully that ends, in my opinion, hopefully that ends up being that the vast majority of not just credit union employees, but society gets vaccinated so that we can put this terrible pandemic behind us. That's just my opinion. So let's kind of wrap up with the question about innovation and disruptive thinking. And you don't have to limit yourself to HR or even HR and marketing. I mentioned before we started recording what respect I have for your CEO, Heidi Kassab, and your leadership team, and the way that the credit union operates. It's a very innovative credit union. It's a credit union that invests in technology, that understands consumer trends. But starting with you, Jen Dickey, maybe talk about some of the innovative things that, whether it relates to HR and culture or other facets of the credit union.
So going back to technology, more so outside of human resources, is implementing more ways to reach our members and be able to service them in an effective way, but not at all harming the service experience with the member. So we were able to quickly implement the member's ability to make appointments with us and have banking experiences with us online, as opposed to coming into the branch. I know, again, that was something that we were talking about, but something that we were able to quickly put together. I just think that that's such a great opportunity. Like, even for myself, the thought of ever going to an actual doctor's office again for an appointment just is like, I don't think I'll ever want to do that again. The ability to have telehealth and not sit in a room of people that might, be sick, so that you get sick. So I think it's the same for our members. However we can serve them, and providing the best outlets to do that, it was just amazing to me. And we're so proud of our team in order to get that available to to our members so quickly.
That's a great example. Jen Blue, what are your thoughts on this innovative things, disruptive things that the credit union has learned or is looking at doing?
Yeah, I think to continue to be innovative and disruptive, I think taking it a step back, we just have an extraordinary team, and that even though we are working from different places, we have found many, many ways to stay connected and to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to really live up to that. So I think, as a team, keeping in mind that overall goal is really what elevates us and lets us continue to do some of those innovative and disruptive things that both you and Jen are speaking to.
And I think it kind of, just to wrap this up, I will say we could probably make a long list of things. You started to do it, Jen Dickey, long list of things that we've benefited from as consumers. And I think credit unions need to really pay attention to the changing consumer behavior and consumer expectation trends, not limiting just to financial services, but when you think of restaurants, order ahead and fast, effective food delivery, being able to stay out of grocery stores by using the shipped shopper function, and on and on. And I think that what I hear a lot from credit leaders is that none of these trends are particularly new. It's just that they got accelerated. And I think it's exciting as we look to the future to see what we can learn and how we can do business better and how we can meet member needs even more effectively. So, boy, what a treat for me to have two Jennifers on Friday 5 and talking about one of my favorite credit unions and how Cornerstone approaches these issues. And I have really appreciated your insights. It's been a great conversation. So thank you to both of you.
Thank you. And we do have it recorded that you said one of your favorites. So
absolutely. And there's some things that I do not allow to be edited. So that one will stand. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dave.
Well, thanks again to Jen Dickey and Jen Blue for an amazing conversation. Cornerstone Community Financial Credit Union has over $330 million in assets and serves over 23,000 members. It's a credit union that has proven itself to be innovative in every respect, with their leader Heidi Kassab and leadership and the board of directors giving the direction and fostering the culture that we talked about. I really liked the conversation about the importance of sustainable strategies for culture decisions and HR management, and how so many of these trends have been around for a long time. They've just been accelerated. The insights and perspectives were helpful and were so interesting. So our thanks again to both Jennifers from Cornerstone Community Financial Credit Union. Thank you for watching Friday 5 with Dave Adams.